सर हेलो।
Yes, sir.
शायद वो नेटवर्क इशू है कुछ। तो सर कैन वी स्टार्ट सेशन नाउ?
हाँ, अपन चालू कर देते हैं. Right, sir. So thank you, RFI, for once again giving me opportunity. Uh, just allow me to share my PPT. So I'm Dr. Deepak Agrawal. I'm a resource person for today's workshop. And the topic for today's workshop, that is how to write a research paper or how to develop a research paper. I will go in. I will go in. So Uh, these are the major these are the major points which are going to discuss today's workshop. That is the motives toward research and publication, the need for pre-review development, then developing the research paper, after developing the steps to be followed for post-review, and then the process for submitting the paper. It further includes the contents related to plagiarism, then citation, that is referencing. There are specific styles to be followed upon. Then formatting of the paper, review of the and revision of the paper if required, selecting the best, selecting the journal as per the appropriate requirement, referencing, how to quote the references, and finally the reference of this PPT or this session. Now, just before proceeding further, let us have a small quiz to all of you, and I'm just sharing the link to you. 1 minute, please. Fine. So I have put the link in the chat box. You can access. Now, as per you, there is a quiz like a research paper or writing a research paper is a science, is an art, or it is both science as well as an art. This is a small quiz. Just please, you need to respond. Just click on that link. It is going to open the Google form and put your choice over there, and your score will be recorded in the Google. So once again, I repeat, and you are having 1 minute to respond in this quiz. Writing a research paper is a science, or it is an art, or it is both science as well as an art. Please take your time. Go to Google response form, Google link, and submit your response. I have received no response here. 6 responses till now. I expect that everyone should respond to it. 7 responses. Please be fast. It is not a big technical question. Very simple question. Writing a research paper is a pure science, or it is an art, or finally it is both science as well as an art. 12 responses. What about the rest of them? Participants, please all. So finally, out of the 12 responses, I got that 8.3% agrees and says that writing a research paper is a science. 87.7% agrees that it is an art, and approx 84.6, that is 85% of the responses says that it is a both science as well as an art. 100% you are true. Writing a research paper is not only a science or not only an art, it is a combination of both science as well as an art. So thank you for your response. Let us move further. The next question comes to us. Although we all are belongs to the academic fraternity, we know the reason, we know the answer behind it, that why to publish the research paper. There are the many reasons we need to proceed for publishing a research paper. I hope you can see the next slide on the screen. Please respond, anyone. Can you see my next slide? Publishing research paper, 10 points. Ajay sir. Nobody is there. Participants, are you there or you simply have logged in and just moved away?
Yeah.
I need a feedback from your side. Can you see this slide? Why to publish research paper?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The next one, publishing research paper.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So, the very first reason for publishing the research paper, and that is our academic necessity. Now, it has already been mandated by the UGC and the AICT, although it has been expected that from July onwards, they are all going to be merged and one new agency will be there. Autonomous body will be there, who is taking care of all the academic activities in India as per the new education policy. So number one is the academic necessity. Now, at least if you want to go for promoting yourself, you need a certain amount of research papers. Many of the private institutes or the government bodies, in case of for requirement for the increments, you need to publish the research paper. That is a part related with career advancement. Third one is the personal interest. Many of us definitely would like to publish research papers because we want to enhance our own knowledge. We may be expertise in any of our area and we want to get a better outcome from it. We want to understand how the people are responding to our work. In that case, the research paper is publication has been required. Another major source, and that is the fundings required for in the research. If you are having some good project, or if you are having some innovative idea, so there are the many of the agencies, maybe government agencies, non-government agencies, maybe corporate bodies, may provide you funds to develop the research paper. Now, this type of activities is very, very popular in IIMs, then IITs, and many of the major universities of India. So they provide enough funds, and that is been a revenue generation, not only for ourselves, but it is for the organization also. So research funding is also one of the major purpose. The next reason for publishing the research paper is reviewing and interpreting our own data to compare with the work of others. That means somebody has already worked on a particular topic. By developing the research paper on the similar topic, you can compare the data, you can analyze that, and just check it out that are you in the same line as what the earlier researcher has done, or you are having somewhat different idea or some different outputs. So for reviewing the earlier work, in that case also, the research paper has been required. Then feedback on the validity of your research approach. Now, whatever you have been published, it is required that other people must go through your paper, then only it creates the importance. The feedback what you are going to receive after the publication is very, very important. So for that also, we need to get our paper published and try to enroll our research publication in the topmost journals or the agencies which provides the free access to others. Just for an example, you can upload your papers on Google Scholar or maybe ssrn.com. There are many other sites also we are going to see in the later sites which provides the such type of facilities ProQuest is submit nowadays. ProQuest is having your thesis, online thesis available of your work which has been published earlier. Then knowledge building to other researchers in their work. Definitely, whenever we try to develop a research paper, we always try to access in the literature review column about the work which has been done by the other. On the similar lines, whenever you are getting your work published, it will be a source of information to others to get what exactly they desire from our work. So, in simple words, it is simply a source of information to other researchers, just like what we are accessing to other scholars. Then it provides as recognition in our community, academic community. Definitely publishing, getting published our research paper in a good journal or a reputed journal creates a value in our academic fraternities. So recognition is equally important. That creates a hall of fame. Helpful in public understanding of a research questions. It's very common when we go with the primary data. In those cases, whenever we go with a survey based questionnaires and getting the analysis further done from those papers, from those data, it's helpful to understand that what a normal person thinks upon. Just like, for example, you want to analyze the customer satisfaction of a particular branch of a bank, or maybe few branches, or maybe few branches of few banks. It all depends upon your size, sample size. So it provides the input that what a common person thinks upon the banking services. But at the same time, the validity of data is also equally important. Any person who had never visited the bank, and if you consider the data from those people, it will provide you the false information. So there are various technical tools available towards the validity of the data. I'm not presently discussing on it. Then publishing helps establish you as an expert in your field of knowledge. For example, if I am a person belongs to finance area, my area particular is related with primary issue mechanism. So once working upon the same of the topics, it will make our more analytical expert, particularly, so that we can provide the better view and review about this topic. So ultimately, it makes ourselves expert, and it definitely increases our knowledge. So when we are talking about all of these things, a single line answer may be why we want to research. The answer is that is to build knowledge. Now, how the knowledge can be created? So in that case, we need to define our work, or the research work is been basically classified into three broad categories. One is the pre-review. At this stage, presently, you are not ready with any of the topic. You have not commences the paper writing. So this is the first step, that is the pre-review. Second steps comes when you are in the process of developing the paper. And the third one is the post-review analysis. That is once you have already developed the paper, and now you need to move for the further processing. Now, just proceeding ahead, when we talk about it, is the research is helpful in building knowledge, but some of the questions may come to our mind, and these are the few on your screen. And that is the very first thing, that is where to begin. Choosing the proposal team, recommended reading, developing your program design, writing the front matter and executive summary, producing your proposal, indexing, and details about the authors. So let us proceed one by one. Now, the question is like that, where to begin? So it's a very difficult task. For example, I want to develop a paper, but I am in the dilemma on which topic I should develop my paper, on which area I should work upon, what should be the content about it. So that is one of the biggest challenge to think upon. So in that case, the very first step is been required, and that is the generation of the idea. Now, how you can generate the ideas? So ideas can be generated anywhere and from any place. I'm just putting one PPT to you. Can you see the YouTube on your screen? Anyone please response? Can you
No,
see
sir,
the
not
YouTube
yet.
on your screen?
No, sir.
Anyone?
No, sir, we can't see your PPT.
Okay, then please allow me. Let me move back. It's a very funny small video. Can you see the YouTube link over here?
No, sir, not yet.
Can't share your screen. Sorry, error occurred when the screen sharing. Let me reconnect. Is it viewable now? Is it? Anyone please response?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Mm-hmm. Shall anyhow, sir, there is a technical error, I think, because it's not sharing it. Don't know why. This is the window. I have the sharing of the option over here. This is the response. Can you see on the screen? This is also. Or we'll move to the next step. No?
No, sir.
Shall anyhow, there is some technical error. The error message is coming upon. Let's ignore and let us move further. I will move back to my presentation. Can you see the PPT?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Uh-huh. I don't know why it is not being shared.
Voice is not clear, sir.
But my just please allow me 2 minutes. I will just rejoin and I will log out and rejoin. And please all be stay over here. Mhm. Not again? Anyone would like to respond? Can you see it? PPT?
No, sir.
अरे क्या हो गया इसको? कैमरा भी उसने ऑफ कर दिया. सर वो करूं क्या मैं? पीपीटी तो शेयर करूं क्या इसमें? तो कैमरा भी ऑफ कर दिया इसने. इसमें तो पता नहीं एरर ही एरर दे रहा है. आपको शेयर करूं पीपीटी? एक सेकंड.
सर कोई बात नहीं, आप पीपीटी आरएफआई के किसी नंबर पे शेयर कर दीजिए, वहां से वो कर देंगे पीपीटीज शेयर.
So anyhow, I shared to you, Ajay sir. In the meantime, the PPT commences. Let me continue. So
Yes, sir. Please wait a minute.
yeah, in the meantime, let me discuss so that you
Yes,
can
yes.
start your presentation. So the question to our mind was like where to begin our work, then how to choose the proposal team. Due to technical errors, we are unable to go through that video. Sorry. So the question was been that where to begin, where to get an idea. So to generate an idea, we need to focus this upon two of the elements. Number one, that is, are you going to develop the research paper for yourself? In other words, it is to be known as the writer orientation. That is writer orientation. Or you want to prepare the research paper for someone else. Yes, sir. मैंने अजय सर को भेज दिया है. मेरे इसमें वो कैमरा भी बंद हो गया और पीपीटी भी बंद हो गई है ना. अजय सर को बोला है मैंने, वो अपलोड कर देंगे. The technical team is working. In the meantime, let us continue.
Sir, wait a minute. Please wait a minute, sir.
अच्छा ठीक है. तो डिस्कशन तो कर सकते हैं, आप चलने दीजिए. कैमरा तक इसने डिस्कस कर दिया. Okay. Sir, you can share PPT.
Yes, sir, we can share. Please wait, sir, please.
This is the very first time this error occurs. In the meantime, anybody is having their query, they can ask. Participants,
Yes, sir.
if you are having any of the queries in the meantime, the PPT has been uploaded. You can have your queries. So we are in the initial step, that is generation of the idea, and what are the elements to be discussed while generating an idea. We were discussing that point. Yes, sir. Rakesh, sir, please. Rakesh, sir.
सर मैं कर रहा हूँ कनेक्ट सर.
हाँ करिए सर आप. ठीक है, पीपीटी में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, अपन जब तक कंटिन्यू रखते हैं और वो आप स्क्रीन पे देख लीजिएगा. मैं कंटिन्यू सर इन बिटवीन, है ना सर, because time is also important. So I was discussing that we must have we need to select any one of the objectives of two. Number one, that is the writer orientation. Like I am developing a paper, so it is my vision, my wish for which reason I would like to develop the paper and form who are the audiences that I will think later upon. I'm just thinking about myself. Yes, sir. Please move forward.
सर which slide?
आप बढ़ाइए सर इसमें, स्लाइड नंबर 13. मोर और आगे जाइए सर, बस सर यहीं पे. So one is the writer's orientation, second is the reader's orientation. You are having a mass audience in front of you and you want to develop a paper considering those mass audience which is beneficial or your outcome is beneficial for them. That is the second objective. Now suppose if we are in the experimental research, we have experimented something, we have derived something. Now we want to get this work published so that other people must know whatever we have done. Secondly, we are working for the mass. Like if the government says that the poverty is been reduced. So readers orientation. Actually, the people want to know that is it the right statement that poverty is actually reduced in our country? So in that case, we will focus their questions in our mind and we will try to develop a paper. So this is the very first step whenever you want to begin with your work. The step is generation of the idea, and while generating the idea, you need to think upon. If you are a research scholar, PhD scholar, or MPhil, doing MPhil, so you are having a very clear objectives in your mind and you will try to develop the paper on each and every objective of your work. That is again the writer's orientation. But in a general, just for the academic excellence and growth, you want to develop the paper, then you need to think a much more, because you want to put something extra and knowledgeable along with which must be helpful towards the society. So this is the very first idea to think upon for whom we need to develop the paper. So next slide, please. Now, these are the few points we need to rememberize while generating an ideas. Number one, keep track of your ideas. Actually, that YouTube was been related with the Albert Einstein, and that indicates I've already shared the. I will share you the link so you can later on access that also. So that creates an idea that Newton was sitting below the tree, an apple falls to his head, and he thinks upon what should be done and what are the reasons behind it. So there are the two options available to that person. Either what he would have done, he would have cut that apple and eat it off, just excluding all of the things which normally we used to do. Second option was there that he can, this is an idea, he can collect all the apples and apple pie type of thing he will produce and he will sell. So he will earn a money. A business person will always think upon the commercialization of that product. But along keeping aside these two ideas, he thought something different, and he thought that if the apple falls below, what is the reason behind it? So he further experimented. He just put few wings to his hands and tried to fly from the top of the building, of the roof, and he finally fell down and broke his hands and legs. This is a funny video which has been I would like to share you. So ultimately the question comes upon that where the idea should comes from. Idea can come at any time, any place, anywhere, even you are awake or even when you are asleep. That doesn't make any differences. But the most importantly, at the same time, that whenever the idea generates to your mind, you should record that idea. Irrespective, that idea may be fruitful or may not be fruitful. That doesn't make any differences. Because we are having a choices. We will think later upon that how to work upon it. So where you can see, so this is a technical answer. There are the various types of notepads, notes, Evernote, such type of templates are available, and where you can simply record the idea. Second, to get the ideas, we need to observe the world around you. Just like movies, what they used to do, they used to move here and there and think what has been happening. The real life stories nowadays, movies are coming upon. So just generates an idea to them. Okay, what is being going upon and how this we can proceed. Third point, generating an idea is break your routine. Think somewhat behind your routine thoughts. Think something unique. Think about anything should be done by you towards the society. That can also create a different type of ideas. Again, while you are getting the ideas, don't be afraid of trial and errors. We are not worried over and we are not consulting presently on the idea implementation. We are simply gathering the ideas. Try to make connections with your idea now to the next part, and that is make connections with your idea to the reality that can we work it upon or may not. Once you are firm, okay, this idea we think that it can be a fruitful, so let us think upon, let us focus upon and try to move ahead. This major challenge always comes to your mind whenever you want to pursue your research work or for the dissertation work. Writing a synopsis is a big task. And definitely, while even drafting a research paper, some of my fellow members may agree that initial title are modified along when the paper is being developed. So that is the second stage. I thought to develop a paper to understand the habits of the customers, banking customers. But once I was in the developing process, I look like that I should also include the perception of the bank employees. This was not my initial idea, but later I added upon. So this is going to modify your title in the later part. Again, don't worry about all of these things because it has not been yet registered or patented. Finish what you started with. Just like you got an idea, you worked upon, you analyze it. Okay, fine. We can proceed with this idea. So you need to finish it off with that work and express yourself. Raise number of questions amongst yourself. Okay, fine. This I can be done by myself or this may not be done by myself. So I think this point is clear that generation of a new idea is the very, very important task. It has been said, na? Okay, well, half start is well. Sorry, I'm sorry. Well start is half done. It is just like the same thing. Sir, next slide, please. Okay. So these are the basic classification of idea generations. A quote by Mr. Peter Elbow, I'm just reading. The consequences of writing is that you must start by writing the wrong meanings in the wrong words. But keep writing until you get the right meaning in the right words. Only in the end will you know what you are saying. So the same things once again comes upon. Your idea may be silly. Your idea may not be really fulfilled. Doesn't matter. You just keep on noting down the ideas whichever comes to your mind. Please note it down. Later on, what we will do, we will brainstorm those ideas and we will finalize it unless and until we what exactly we want to move apart. So idea generation, they are the four basic categories. Number one is the brainstorming. Second one is the free writing. Third one is the idea map. And the fourth step is the modeling. Now, let me little bit brief upon it. What is brainstorming? It is a mental exercise. Whatever ideas comes to your mind, now you will work more upon it and try to just analyze it. Fine, can we move ahead? Is it idea fruitful? Any work related work has been done by someone else or not? So there is a brainstorming exercise. This is the first step. Second is free writing. Can you see this graph, this flow over here? This point written by hand, something. So these are the steps. Whatever the idea comes to your mind, you just keep on writing in any of the way. There may be 3 ways, 4 ways, just adding the circles over that unless and until you reach to a final conclusion. Okay, fine. This is the topic where we should proceed with. One of my fellow colleague is working on one of the very, very latest current-based topic related to bankruptcy. It was been approved. The synopsis was approved. But the basic problem is lying that the concept is too young and we are not getting the enough data to analyze the things. So still we are struggling. We are not getting the data. So this type of content should not be there where you are puzzling to get the work done. How to get the work analyzed? No previous work is found in India particularly. Law is new. That act is new in India. So you need to wait at least for 5 years to get the outcome and then only you can analyze with the result. So such type of idea should be ignored. So you research intensively, check it out that such type of work is available or not, otherwise not. Ignore it. On the similar ground, when we are free writing, that I had selected one of the topic that was also unique, but the content was not available. It was a very difficult task. At that period, I need to go through the foreign studies only that was available. Now it's many of the studies available, but at that point, it was a difficult task to correct the data. But that idea was innovative at that time. So whatever the outcomes of my work was there, it was very, very helpful to the stock exchanges also. So you need to draw after there is an idea map how you will go and how you will go. Modeling is somewhat thinking without any specific reasons. It can be any of your ideas. And just forget about the grammatical formations. Just keep on writing anything. It is just like you are walking on the road and thinking anything. Illogical. Nothing. Nothing has been correlated. And that is to be known as the modeling. So that can be also the one of the steps which can be followed while generating an idea. Next slide, please, sir. Choosing the proposal team. Now you need to decide how you will try to move upon. Do you want to be ekla chalore, single person, one-man army? Or would you like to have a team of few researchers? Once you are in the real research work, when you are in the experimental work, in that case, the team is been required. If a research, if not to the very large extent, it is limited to a particular area or a segment, in that case, a single person may be acceptable. But I personally suggest, being an academician, and if you wish to develop a research paper only for the academic interest, in that case also develop a joint paper rather than being a single author. Yes, there will be some point of sacrifice in terms of API, but you can come upon with better ideas and better outcomes in those cases. So how to select the team? It again depends upon the four major points. Number one, that is the principal investigator. Number one, who is the main person, who is the main author, who is having the complete idea about the work. Secondly, if required, you can have the research assistant. He or she is going to support your work. Whatever the work you assign, that person is going to make it, prepare it, and submit it to you. Third is research associate. It normally happens once you are been in the PhD process, then this type of concept has been there. And along with that, there may be a research director who is going to take care and guide for all of the things. Specifically in sciences, pure sciences, there are big teams, maybe 8 people, 10 people, 20 people. They are working towards the development. So there is a research committee has been there. There is a director of research has been there. And accordingly, the work has been assigned and followed upon. Next slide, please. So finally, 2 steps we have finished off. We generated an idea with many of the sources available. Secondly, we decided want to move alone ahead or we will need a team. You have deliberately selected the team as per your own requirements. And after that, now either as an individual or a team will work to find the various resources. Now, where to get the content about that topic? Nothing is new. It may be innovative, but nothing is new. Just like when COVID was in 2020 in India, particularly 2019, it was in China. So we say that it is COVID-19. And it was a new concept, nothing was been available. No. In terms of research, what their scientists did, they just check it out, the chronology of that particular disease or that germ. They try to go back in the history and check it out that what are the features or what is the DNA factor and what is the system of that germ which was been creating this problem. Definitely, this disease or this epidemic was a new, but related to that, many of the earlier studies available, they talk about the similar symptoms. So it provides a base to the reader in that so that you can come with something unique. So literature review is very, very important while developing your research paper. So once again, finding resources, number one, it can be using the library subject database. Now it can be in both of the modes. It may be online mode, it may be offline mode. Reading out books. Students, they have left this habit of reading the books. 100%. As a teacher, we are also losing it out. I may ask to all of you, and you may be, I think, going to agree with me that we are spending more times on the online resources rather than the textbook because it saves our time. We get the ready-made PPTs, we get the PDFs, we get the study materials. We simply copy, paste it in the Word or PPT and just make the presentation of it. But reading of the books and searching in the books is as one of the resources available. Third is finding journal articles. I think journal is one of the major source where you can get the many of the things, data, but you need to check the authenticity of that particular journal and the article, because there may be n number of double-blind peer reviews journals, but you can't say this idea has been authenticated. It is just like any of the information floated on the YouTube or Instagram should not be considered true, because most of the time it contains the false information. So there are certain steps to check the identity of the journal. You can go through Scopus website, you can go through Web of Science, you can go through UGC CARE list, and those authenticated data can be analyzed. Then next step is finding theses and dissertations. Where you can find the theses and dissertations? Is there any source available? Anybody would like to answer? Finding theses and dissertations. So where we should access this theses and dissertations? Anyone, please?
Yes, sir. It is available on Shodhganga.
Okay, very nice, sir. Thank you. Fine. Yes. If I talk about my own university where I am been associated with, or my institute has been affiliated with, you will find 10, 20 years old thesis, nothing new is available. The heap of new theses are been lying somewhere at the corner of that library. And if you wish to access the current information, it's not possible. But some major of the private institutes or maybe big organizations, they maintain the proper records about the thesis. You can access. Go over there, spare time, access, read it out. So first maybe research center. Second is the university library. Third, any of the organizations like IIMS and on that. Fourth one, what sir has rightly said, every thesis is been now available at Shodhganga, and Shodhganga you can simply need to log in very simple steps, and you can access the thesis, and that is downloadable. But rememberize, whatever the contents you are carrying should not be plagiarized, and the proper credit must be given. ProQuest also, they are now have uploaded. Day before yesterday, I just came to know one of my paper was been found linked over there. I just proceeded and I saw my thesis is available at ProQuest also. So what I was been thinking upon that without my permission, how they have taken care. But at the university, they have said that now they have an agreement with ProQuest. So all of the theses are available at ProQuest. So you can also access the ProQuest. Next is finding other electronic material and information. Some simply Google it out. Finding legal information. Many of the times a legal quotation has been mentioned over there that you cannot download because the material is copyrighted, and in that case a legal action may be taken. Evaluating your information, whatever information you yourself have, that can also be evaluated. Manage your references, make a list in the chronological order, in the alphabetical order, so that it is helpful further for your further access. Keeping up to date with your research, keeping your knowledge updated. Finally, after that, we will definitely move ahead with the plagiarism and the citing resources. That is also equally important. So these are some of the recommended resources from where you can collect the information. Basically, what we used to do, we will go with a search engine, Google, we will put a topic, it will provide you many of the pages, we will go through those pages, we will download it, and from that we will get the topic and we carry over those contents. Next slide, please. So developing content. This is the first step we have finished off. We got an idea, we have a content, we have searched for the work, we have decided the topic. Now we need to proceed with our work. So it includes developing your program design and writing the front matter and the executive summary. Initially, you prepare with the executive summary, but it will be definitely modified when your paper ends with it. There is a image over here. I don't know you can see it out because it's in a very small font written, but I will read it for you as per information. Generating quality contents people want to share. It includes like blogs are there. Then create quickly fun videos can be there. Then develop integrated white papers, reports writings can be done. White papers are those papers which are in the process. They are still not been finalized. Then designing the work, creating imaging, shareable content, so it can be shared and other people can also access it. These are the some of the information over there. Next slide, please. So this is the basic structure of our work. We are in the process of developing. If required, you can take the screenshot. This is the standard procedure, but it can be modified as per your requirements. So very first case, that is the title of your paper. Second one is the abstract writing. Abstract is simply a short information about the paper, what we have included. We will discuss, and it should be not very big. Normally, the defined words are 300. To the maximum level, it must contain all the complete information of your work. At the same time, it includes the scholar's information. Then introduction. Introduction, it all depends upon the size of the work. When we talk about the thesis, 35 to 40% of the pages are related with introduction. But it is been expected that introduction should not be so much big. 15% to your whole of the work is been satisfactory. So it all depends upon your choice how you would to proceed, but it must contain the complete information related to your topic. Literature review. There is a specific way, but literature review contains about the details where the earlier scholars have done. In the literature review, it is necessary that we must talk upon the literature gap. So normally we put a statement that as per the available literature we read, analyzed, we found that certain gap is been there in this particular topic, and this factor motivates us to move for the further research. So it is necessary you need to identify the literature gap. Now practically the question comes upon that does that gap really exist? Maybe not. So what we are using, as per the available literature we have reviewed, we found this particular research gap. We might have gone through 10, 20 research papers and we didn't find what exactly we have been thinking upon. And due to that reason, we are developing this research paper. So the gap should be, the topic should be somewhat unique. To be followed by rationale of the study. It can be in the next part also. So rationale basically talks upon justification of your work. Why you want to proceed with this work. Then objectives and hypothesis. My suggestion, do not put too many of the objectives over there. 3 objectives, 4 objectives are more than sufficient. Hypothesis has been there. If required, put it, otherwise not required. Methodology includes the complete process of your work, how you will proceed in the later part and the analysis. Further, it talks upon the findings and discussions. Suggestions, scope of further research, because again some gap is still left over. Few domains you might have not covered in your research, that provide the scope for the other researchers so they can think upon and move further. The whole of the paper or the research work ends with the conclusion, and finally followed with the references or bibliography and any other further attachments. So this is the basic structure of developing a research paper or a thesis. This is a standard work. Next slide, please. We are losing time, but I will try to cover as maximum as possible. So how to write a title? There are some of the specific ways. See, one basic suggestion I would like to suggest. In the initial stage, once you are finalized with the topic, let us search the journal where you want to get your paper published. Presently, I'm talking in the reverse order, reverse chronology. Identify the journal, because each and every publishing house or a journal, they have their own style. So it's better once you have finished your work, then you search the journal, then you to rewrite the whole of the contents and redesign as per that journal or publishing house requirement. It's advisable you just go through them initially and just start writing the paper according to the format prescribed by them. This will save your time. So what should be the title? The title must be informative and catchy. The title must include the basic objective you want to analyze in your work. I want to study the financial performance of the insurance company in a particular segment. So that must be in the highlight, that must be as a part of the title, so that the reader must be clear that on which topic you have developed your paper. Title is nothing, it is just like similar to the title of the movie. The name indicates that what should be in that movie. Second point, their title should be in capital letters. See, these are the standard guidelines. Why I once again says that the things may be modified as per the requirements of the publishing house. So title should be in capital letter, and it should not be in the quotation marks. The title should not be in quotation mark, because it is not your patented work. If it has been patented, then you can put the quotation over there. Otherwise, it should not be in the quotation. Do not underline the title or put a period at the end of the title. So it should be avoided. Do not underline the titles. It should be very simple. Name the authors properly along with their affiliations. Now, there are the 2 ways to show the author's affiliation. Just like for this example, you can see the author's name is here, Dr. Deepak Agrawal. There is the extract, and the information about the affiliation of this author is been disclosed at the end of the abstract. You can see over here. This asterisk is over here, the name of the author, affiliation, etc., etc., and the email link if you wish to provide. Avoid providing your phone numbers. Please do not put your phone numbers at any of the place in your research work. Another way, here is the name of the authors and their affiliation just below that, here in bracket. This can be the another way. So it all depends upon the requirement of the publishing house or the journal. If there are two authors, it will be the second name will be after that, one asterisk, second author, align two asterisk, and this information will be at the below of the page. So this is how you can have the title. The similar rules are applied to the headings and the subheadings as well. So whenever we proceed with these headings and subheadings in the chapter, the same rules we are going to apply. Next slide, please. Okay. So initially we have discussed about the writing the title. Please do not italic the title. That is also the thing. Now, one of the source informed us that what should be the length of an abstract, and it said that typically it should be from 100 to 500 words. Majorly 250 to 300 words is more than enough. There are the few recommending referencing agencies like APA suggest between 150 to 250 words. MLA suggests 150 to 250. Harvard 100 to 300 words, and AMA length is restricted to 175 words. So these are the recommendations from the various standing committees who provide you the referencing styles. So this all information you will get in the journal, and accordingly you need to, and you should be very rigid and strict as per their norms. Now, how to write an abstract? First couple of sentences should focus on what the study is all about. In 3-4 sentences, what you want to actually do. It must include the major findings and a style of a general readership can read and understand. Even in one sentence, you can put the test you have applied. So in the initial phase, you are talking about the study. In 5th to 6th line, you are talking about the basic objective of your research, that is the research question. In the next line, the methodology you have adopted should be very, very short. And after that, whatever the test you have applied must be included in it. Avoid detailed experimental procedures and data. That technical analysis is not required over here. Keep it short and effective, and the size should be about 200 to 250 words. So this is how bold, underline. This is as per APA. Okay. Then abstract to my example is of 178 words, and you can read on in the later part also, and it should be in italic. So abstract is in italic, and at the end this abstract talks about the outcomes of your study. Just like, please go through the last 2 sentences. The study revealed to educate all the women to make develop of themselves and to develop the economy. The special health groups, SHGs, has to achieve the social and financial needs. So this makes the complete information about the work. The abstract followed by the keywords. Keywords are the major words which are used by the search engines to make the findings easier. It includes, there should be 3 to 5 words, not more than that. Normally, comma is been not marked, but it depends. If they suggest, the comma will be there. Otherwise, it will be in simple sentence formations. So keywords. Next slide, please. Abstract writing. Okay. Now, we are moving to the abstract. After just having the initial page, creating the first draft. Just focus upon all of the things that is what does your paper matches with the objective, or sorry, does your objectives matches with the title of the paper? If not, so you should modify the title. Whatever the methodology you have adopted must be highlighted. Put the findings and outcomes in the result section. Combine all into a single paragraph as a concluding part. Provide research keywords, which I have already discussed. delete extra words or any other irrelevant background information is not required in this abstract. Don'ts of writing an abstract. Well, this should be avoided. Now, what are that? That avoid writing information that is not in the original paper. Don't talk about the history behind developing that paper. Irrelevant information must be moved out. Do not add abbreviations until a term appears to be more or 2 or more times. Avoid using the abbreviations. I have used a single abbreviation in my previous slide. Only one time I have used it. And it should be initially go with the complete words and then only abbreviation can be used. Skip background information, detailed methodology, literature review, omit bibliography, citation, reference, graphs, and tables. And if required, you can revise as it has been done so. Next slide, sir. The same standard is being followed for developing the thesis work. Introduction. Once again, as such, there is nothing defined limit for it, but your introduction must include all the related information to your work. Once you are developing your thesis, dissertation, the experts expect that what is actually your contribution in the work, rather the primarily the work which has been done by the others. So what, as they said, 35% people write about introduction, 30% they talk about the literature review, 70% they are initially, their whole work is related with introduction literature review. Actually, this is not your contribution. Methodologies always comes in a very short pages, 4 or 5 pages, I think sufficient. Actual work comes with your results, findings, and discussions. That is most important in your research. So what the introduction must provide? A brief description of the topic, a statement as to why the topic is all about, worth researching or why it could be, why you want to move ahead with the research. Your topic must be found interesting. Introduction should not be very in a very dull language, so the author or the reader may lose interest. It must include the scope of study, nature and scope of study, an overview of the rest of the paper. At the end, we used to write the chapter. The chapterization of the work has been presented in the below order. Chapter 1 deals with introduction, chapter 2 with literature review, 3 with methodology. A small paragraphs are required in it. The same thing can be in the paragraph form while you are developing a research paper. Number of pages, 1 or 2 for research papers. And I told it should be maximum 15% of your whole of the thesis work. And if required, you should use the tables, charts, data, and they all should be properly cited. You should provide the original source of information from where you have collected this data. Next slide, sir. Length of the introduction. Now, one study was being conducted, and this is, as per the study, 61,518 full-text research papers were uploaded to PubMed Central Agency between 2016 and 21. The median of introduction was of 553 words in a research paper. Long, that includes equivalent to 21 sentences or 4 paragraphs, and 90% of the introduction were between 245 and 1245 words. So you see, this is a source from where this information has been gathered. Now, you see that in research paper, unnecessary lengthening the work is not recommended. Average size 553 words, maximum 1200 words. That means that makes somewhere around 1.5 page to maximum 2 pages. Not more than that. Please do not add more than 2 pages while developing a research paper. Next slide, literature review. So we have finished off with the literature introduction. Let us move to the literature review. There are the various methods of writing a literature review. Particularly, literature is a source which has been a critically analysis of the previous work published by the various scholars or the authors. It provides the fundamental base to your work, so that a foundation has been laid. You should always, it will helpful in developing your own content, your imagination, and the tools and techniques comes from the literature reviews. I always suggest, and practically I've experimented. Rather, this is my approach. I mean, it all depends upon the perception of your guide and you yourself. Rather than writing an introduction, I always suggest to my scholars, and what I used to do is initially write down the literature review, because it actually provides you the various types of ideas. We must understand that what work has been done by the others. If our topic requires, we can modify that. It will provide a base of the techniques applied for testing the data or the hypothesis that comes from that. It provides an outcomes that what other researchers they have analyzed and resulted from it. So this is how the literature review helps us. Secondly, the literature reviews are also to be used while you're writing your discussion. It should be helpful in comparing the discussion, and that reviews must be included. So basically, literature reviews provides a knowledge related to a particular field of study, which includes developmental history, theories, key variables, phenomena, methods, and outcomes. I was talking about the sequencing. There are various ways. It is a chronological order. The year when the event happened earliest will be included first, and then we will proceed further. 16th century, 17, 18, 19, 20, then decades, and then years, and so on. This is the most conventional way. Secondly, related to your work, what the most relevant information must included first, and the less relevant information can be quoted at the end. This can be the another way. Third, when you are in the thesis writing, literature review can be on the basis of your objectives. The separate reviews can be subdivided into 3 to 4 sections. Section 1 deals with objective 1, then 2, then 3 and 4, and so on. This can be also the one of the best way. Nextly, once you are writing those things, and in case if you are having many of foreign authors' works, that is the foreign reviews and Indian reviews, again can be classified into 2 broad categories. What we did, for example, I'm talking about for thesis initially. So I first included objective 1. I wrote for objective 1. Then I further classified as international authors and Indian authors. Objective 2, international authors, Indian authors, and so on. While you're drafting a paper, because there is a limited place only, in hardly 4, 5 pages, 7 pages, we need to finish out with a research paper. In that case, it can be in the chronological order, or maybe the most relevant to the, that is reverse chronological order can also be adopted. But don't forget to check the plagiarism level, because it will otherwise the paper may be rejected. Next slide, please. Why to review? These are some of the reasons required why we want to go with a literature review: to identify the work done on the similar topic, to get into insight of the proposed research work, to enhance the knowledge in your field, to understand the various tools implemented in their studies, and reveal the gap exists in the literature. So all of the points I've covered in my previous slides. Next slide, please. Objectives and hypotheses. Okay. Statement of the research objective. Why we want to go? What is the objective of life? Normally we used to ask our student. We doesn't know. Ourselves doesn't know, student doesn't know. Similarly, no research work has been completed unless it is having a specific objective. A little period back, I have gone with one of the theses which was not having an objective and hypothesis in his work, and that was been submitted for review. I rejected that thesis, I have completely rejected and asked for to completely rewrite and resubmit. How thesis should be written, can be written without an objective? It's imaginable. Now, objectives must align with the title of the paper. Once again, once you finish off your paper, a modification in title is been required, please go through. If you want to be rigid with your title, then objective should strictly align with the title of the paper. Objectives will never come in the interrogative sentences. That means it will not come in the question mark style. There will be no question marks. Please check. In that case, even the students who are submitting their project reports, MRPs, just please assure it. My suggestion, objective should not be more than 3. That is more than enough. Because each and every objective includes the discussions, results, testing, hypothesis, many of the things are included. But if you wish, you can have many of these sub-objectives. That is advisable. One of my student, MBA student, because they are not having enough idea, they come along with 24, 25 objectives. I told him that it will take complete of your life to complete this research work. And you should be reduced to the standard wise. Number one, if required, there can be a sub-objectives. Always start the sentence. It should not be interrogative, like it can be to determine, to investigate, to access. These are the some of the words should be used while defining the objectives. These are the some of the general objectives: to access, to describe, to investigate, to explore, to characterize. Then some specific: to identify, define, estimate, determining, develop, demonstrate, to compare, to classify, to measure, and to examine. So one thing, that your title will not commence with the word to. To study, no, it's not like that. It's like a study about. Title normally starts with A, N. An objective starts with the word to, T or to. Next point, next slide, hypothesis. Next slide, sir. Okay. Many of the time question arises that it is necessary to have the hypothesis. Answer: if it is primary data, then hypothesis must be there to check the authenticity of the data. But in secondary data, the hypothesis may not be required. It all depends upon the discretion of the author to use hypothesis in secondary data or not. But once you create an hypothesis, it is helpful, particularly when hypothesis is required, when you want to accept or reject some of the objectives which comes to your mind or in your work. In that case, hypothesis has been required. If it is descriptive study, hypothesis is not been required. So ultimately, it is a formal statement that presents the expected relationship between the independent and dependent variables. We all know about the hypothesis. It is nothing new. It must align with objective, must adopted in primary research. There is a step to be followed with the hypothesis framing, and some specific tools are been required to test the hypothesis. Simply graphical presentation is not sufficient for research paper writing. If you are applying hypothesis, then it must be tested by some of the statistical tools as per which is appropriate to your research work. There are two types of hypothesis: null hypothesis H0, alternate hypothesis, that is H1. Usually, I'm using the word usually, we used to have the null hypothesis which is to be rejected. technically not accepted. In simple words, it is rejected, usually, but not necessarily required. Many of the times, the null hypothesis may be accepted. So in that case, you need to accept that hypothesis. So what is alternate? It is that which basically you want to accept. Next slide. Methodology. It defines the complete process, how you have proceeded in your rest of the work. It explains your methodological approach. It includes the tools of data collection, data period, data analysis. Arey yaar, one minute, please. Analytic study should be descriptive by nature, what I suggest, what has been suggested by the earlier experts also, so that it should provide the complete steps to the laymen also. Because our work may be taken care by the research scholars, maybe by the students, maybe by other people who are not good in statistics. So the complete steps should be defined in your methodology, so it can be easily accessible and applicable by other researchers too. Although we are permitted to use the statistical tools, softwares in the present scenario, and that should also be defined in your work. Suppose if you are using SPSS, any of the versions, SPSS version, whatever version has been there, if you are using stats or eViews or any of the things, must be defined. Evaluate and justify your methodological choices. Once you are deciding the methodology or the tools for data analysis, it must correlate with some another's work. Why I have adopted this analytical tool, or why you are adopted this tool? Just like if we talking about that we are ready to apply the t-test. So why t-test you are analyzing it? Why you are using it? So you declares that in that form, in that statement, as a statement that similar test, the t-test has been applied by the various other authors on the similar ground. We have adopted the same methodology or the testing of the hypothesis. That justification must come in your methodology. Normally, it's not too big. In research paper, it's hardly of 2.5 pages. Maximum 2 pages I am talking, is more than that. And in thesis work, it should be somewhere around 5 pages maximum. If you wish, you can describe each and every small element in the methodology, so that will be avoided while you are writing in the results. Next slide. Methodology. Which type of approach, which type of research we are adopting? So there are the various types of studies, just like analytical, descriptive, empirical, qualitative, experimental, qualitative, ethnography, data collection methods, sampling, period of study, data collection tools, data analysis tools and techniques. So these are the various approach which has to be adopted while you are developing a methodology. You can take a screenshot and you can further read it out. I'm moving to the next slide. Next slide, sir.
Yeah.
Once we have decided the methodology, we have applied the test, now we are ready with the results. The results should be submitted in the research work. Yes or no, it's questionable point. Yes, if in case of thesis writing, should be there. In case of research paper, you may not be going to submit it. Results are the outcomes to your research questions, what you have decided and which has been followed by your objectives. The result section should set as per your key experimental results, including the statistical analysis, whether or not the results of these are significant or not. That means your results must include what for which you are trying to apply the test. Results are always written in the past tense, to be followed by discussions. there may be a separate chapter for discussion. In research paper writing, the results and discussions can be in the same portion. But in thesis writing, usually discussion is a separate chapter. Discussion must include your interpretation of your work, looking the answer for your research question, justifying your approach, and comparing with the others' outcomes, results. Your approach may be acceptable by others or may not be, and critically evaluating your study. So this is how the results and discussions must be written upon. It's a tedious activity. It is not simply like in the very simple manner you have wrote the result. Once again, I am repeating my words that this is your real outcome. This is what you have worked upon. So there will be lots of questions coming upon when you are presenting your paper on this portion only. Till methodology, it was already the work which has been done by the others. Next slide, please. Conclusion. Conclusions must include the findings and the highlight of the significance of the outcome of your study. What should be the size of conclusion? There are again two ways. It can be in the single paragraph. May contain 10 to 15 lines. Single paragraph. This is the normal trend. It's been adopted. But if you wish to elaborate, it can be in 2 paragraphs. Once we are in the dissertation writing, the conclusions can be initially related to objective wise. That is objective 1, objective 2, objective 3, and you have the conclusions for it. And finally, your work ends with the overall conclusion of your study. So whenever a paper has been written, for an reader, initially goes with an abstract. It should be understandable, okay, what you want to do in this paper. Then the person reads the conclusion, okay, what this was you want to do, and presently this is what you have did. And if interested, then the person will go insights of your work. He will start reading introduction to discussion. So it should be very, very attractive. It must include all the main points or facts mentioned in the study. Must be ended with the closing remark or a thought. So I already suggested 5 sentences, 130 words. Specifically, the majority of conclusion sections are either in 1 or 2 paragraphs consisting of 3 to 8 sentences. And the mean word count for conclusion is 201 words. That means the conclusion should also not be very, very lengthy, but it must provide the gist to your work. Next slide. I'm not reading. This is an example for you. You can see the conclusion has been in 2 parts, 2 paragraphs. Total word count is 232 words. It can be reduced to 1 if required. Next slide, sir. Plagiarism. Next one, sir. Okay. So what is plagiarism? This is just before, about to the previous slide. We have finished off with the research paper writing. So these are the major steps to be adopted while developing a research paper. And now, along with research paper, the additional information we must learn. And number 1, that is the plagiarism. Now, what is plagiarism? Plagiarism is simply copying the some another's work in presenting in your own words, in your own way, referencing like that is what your work you have created. It is simply stealing some other works and putting in your work without providing the credit to the original source comes under this category. It is just like a story of a movie which has been stolen by someone else, some another producer, and they have created the movie and then it has been presented in it's like it's their own work. That is plagiarism. So what you have not created does not belongs to you. But the research community allows us to carry those data in your work with proper citing those works, means referencing the source from where it has been taken care. So what can be copied and comes under this category? Can be in the form of facts, praise, charts, diagrams, tables, maps, illustration, photographs, theory, methods, steps, list, quotation, or a quotation from someone else's works comes under the plagiarism category. So to overcome, we should always acknowledge the original source. That means from where you have accessed, that content must be disclosed. Even when you have put someone else's ideas in your own words, you must credit the source of those ideas. So if you have taken some few sentences from others' work, must be quoted in the form of a citation. Carefully document and record every single source you read. Do not cut corners. That means copy the material from here and there and just put it out. Even you need to properly cite those contents. So citing has been done with the help of the referencing tools available in MS Word. You can go to the reference section. You can select the style you wish to adopt, and it is going to help to create those citations and referencing. When you copy and paste from the internet, don't only copy the web address, but also provide the date of access to that address. Now, web contents always keeps on modifying. Anything you copy today may not be found day after tomorrow. So whatever the date, the content you have copied must be mentioned by the date of access, on which date you have accessed this content. That means on this date it was available. When you copy any of the electronic materials, record the full source with its URL. Even for research papers nowadays, good journals, they provide the DOI. The DOI helpful in accessing the complete paper by simply clicking it. It is sufficient enough to reference it. In case if you are having any confusion, you can go through the Google and search for those information. Next slide, sir. Next slide. The next slide. These are the some of the free plagiarism detecting softwares. Now, once again, rememberize it that they not provide the full, some of the free sites does not provide the full authenticated information. There are many of the sites, Dupli Checker, then CopyLeaks, Plagiarism Checker, Free Plagiarism, Orcon, Turnitin. Now, Orcon and Turnitin are the paid where the license has been acquired. Normally, they are been maintained by the universities and the big institutions, because Turnitin license software cost somewhere around 21 lakh rupees. This is what I have seen a week before. So it's very costly software. Then it is mandatory to run our work, a particular thesis work, to any of this licensed software in the university library and to get the plagiarism report. The maximum permissible limit is of 10%. If it is above that, then you need to reduce that plagiarism level. So again, the difference occurs, like many of the free tools which are available may not be provide you to plagiarize contents, but you go through this type of softwares like Urkun, Turnitin, they can provide you a better report with detailed information about the copying contents and the link from which you have collected those information. So this is how the software helps us to improve, to overcome the plagiarism. So please be cautious. Just modify the sentences which you have copied or taken from any of these sources, and should not be submitted without that. And the declaration form is also to be submitted along this. Presently, now it is a trend. Next slide, sir. Citing and referencing. What is the basic difference? Citing is the in-text source mentioned about the author's information. Means when you try to provide the complete information, when you try to provide the source from through which you have taken the content within the text, means within your research paper is a citation, and a detailed information about that source is in the form of referencing. Again, two things depends. References can be quoted in the page itself where it is been cited. Okay, but at the second side, it will consume too much of the space. So it is advisable that do not put the references in the text, means in your work. There is a separate chapter for it. There is a separate section, not a chapter, section for it. And there the complete information must be quoted in the form of references. So let us move further and try to understand how to mention the citations and references. Next slide, sir. Okay, sir. There are various styles I've already discussed. This is an examples related with APA, American Psychological Association. How to quote citations. So there are two ways. It always comes with the surname. First name is avoided. In case of a single author, surname, this is second name, in bracket year of publication and with the sentence formation. If not so, it can be quoted at the end with the finishing of the sentence, in bracket surname, comma, year of publication, bracket close. So these are the way to cite in case of single author. If you wish to add page number, yes, it can be done. Similar, this sentence formation remains same. Klein 2000, comma, pp dot page numbers, bracket close. Similarly, at the end, in bracket Klein, comma 2000. This is already we have done earlier. And then comma pp and page number. Pp stands for page numbers. More than one, it is pp. Single page, it is p. This is how you should cite your work. Next slide. Now we are talking about the Kelvin. So the complete information is being disclosed in the form of referencing at the end of your work. So there are the many of the styles available: American Psychological Association, Chicago referencing, Harvard referencing, MLA referencing. You can adopt any of the referencing style of your choice, but otherwise the journal specify the style and you need to exactly prepare as per that format only. That's why I said in the beginning, you initially identify the journal where you want to get your paper published. There you can save much of your time. Next slide, sir. Formatting of a research paper. Now you can go through the formatting page paragraph, that is layout in MS Word. The next column you can see on the screen is the references. So layout, you can select the choice of per you. If it is to be binded, that is for in terms of thesis writing, it should be left 1.5 and for rest it is 111. 1.5 left, then 111. Other than that, it can be 1 inch from all the sides. Next slide. 1 minute. Then there are two ways for indentation. Either you can directly start from the very left side, that is whenever you are writing a paragraph, either it can be from directly left side or you can leave half-inch space to start with a paragraph. You can see on the screen. Here we are starting in the second para. You can see it's from immediately left side. And in the first para, you can see there's some half-inch space has been left over. So this you need to decide which indication you want to follow. So next slide, page numbering. So there are various modes of writing the page numbers. Again, it can be selected through the Word, MS Word. It can be, you can completely write as page number, simple PG.4, simple P4, or simply 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all your choice. Page numbers must be written in Arabic, that we need to memorize it, not in Roman. Roman pages are used while for your initial pages in your research work, thesis work. But once you are in the chapterization, then it should be in the Arabic numericals. So next slide. Line spacing recommended either 1 inch, 1.5 maximum. Generals says that the line spacing should be of 1.5 inches. So you decide, but 1.5 inch makes work more readable. While you are in the research paper writing, it will consume lot of space. In that case, the 1 inch space is 1 line space is suitable. Tabulation, you can see it on the screen how to tabulate your work. So next slide. Yeah, you can see how it has been referred. In the table, it must contain the table number, title of the table, head note, row, column headings, body of a table, and source of information. Usually, whenever we are taking a source of table, it should be defined over here. If not so, you can even mention like self-generated as per API. So if you are having your own table, it can be written as self-generated. If not, you can mention the original source from where it has been copied. The table title will always come above the table. Remember it. And in terms of graphs, it will come below the chart or a graph. Normally, we are using the word chart. This is the basic difference. There you can see table number 3 has been mentioned, colon, and then title. And then there is a table at the end, there is a source. Next slide, sir. Now you see in graph. Figure, chart, table. This all has been mentioned at the end, and after that a source has been mentioned. I hope it is clear to all of you. Okay. So you can escape next 2 slides. Active voice, passive voice. Next slide, sir. You can next. Okay. These are the some grammatical checker tools. Now, again, your research paper must be free from all types of grammatical errors. So for that, we can take the help of an expert. If not so, various online tools are available. There are free tools are also available. You can access any of them. They have a word limits, maybe 100 words, 300 words, 500 words. Accordingly, you can access it and you can use it out. So you can just go through any of your choice. I normally access the Grammarly or a Ginger, but I'm not recommending any of the source. It all depends upon your choice. And if you go with the licensed version, definitely it will provide you the more authenticated information. Secondly, you need to decide that which language of English you are adopting. Is it American English or British English? Or Indian English now also has been available by some of the softwares. So that you will decide. Next. So finally, we are at the selecting that job work which I have already discussed earlier. We need to decide that which type of journal we will move ahead. Will it be international journal or a national journal? Second level, we need to decide the area of the journal. For example, does it belongs to management, commerce, science, arts, humanities? Okay. Then this subdivide the topic, the area, particular area. Suppose it belongs to management, then is it for finance, for HR, marketing, or for common? A paper which has been published in the specialized journal is having more weightage as compared to the general publications. So that all can be dependent upon your choice. So you need to decide the journal, then go through the instructions, whatever the requirements are there. Secondly, there are 2 types of journals. One is the peer reviewed. It is helpful in improving your API score. But nowadays, UGC CARE, Scopus, Web of Science journals are recommended by the UGC. So you need to get your paper published in it. Even for the research scholars, 2 papers to be get published either in UGC CARE, Group A or B, Web of Science, Scopus, any of the recognized journal. But at the same time, because they are costly, free journals are very limited, and your paper should be up to that mark. Third limitation, it will take time. It will take years to get the approval of your paper. Maybe 2 years, 3 years. Till then, the data lost its importance. So time is also equally important for us. So we need to consider both of the elements. So you can go through any of the Indian journals. Double band peer review weightage presently has not been there, but UGC recommendation there. If you're going with the paid journals, there are different costs involved in it. Just simply send a mail to the editor and ask them what is the price for it. Foreign journals normally they are very, very costly. So next. Next. This is a peer review process, double band peer review. Once you submit your paper to it, process through the different authors, experts, and then it has been submitted back to the editor for the final approval, acceptance, or the modification or rejections. So I'm not discussing this also. Next slide, sir. Now, what are the sources you must go through? That you must always memorize it. That whatever work you are doing, it must be accurate, it must be authority, or you must have authority for that work, responsibility. There should be no biasness in your work. Your results must not be biased, and it should fit to the specific target audiences. So these things also we need to care upon it. Next slide. Now, what about if the paper gets rejected? After putting all our efforts for 6 months, we develop a paper, send for the approval, and it gets rejected. Don't be distressed or discouraged. Just check it out. What are the reasons behind it? If it is acceptable, just try to modify. If the journal is accepting your modification, okay, resubmit it. If they are not, then you go through some another journal and submit your paper for the publication. But definitely please go through the guidelines or the suggestions provided by the journal who has not accepted your paper. This will helpful to improve among ourselves. Next, the steps to avoid dull paper. So again, to keep the interest of the audience or the authors, do not write very long papers. Do not have too many paragraphs, too small paragraphs. There should be small size of paragraphs. Maybe 7 lines, 8 lines can be a size for a paragraph, but they should not be too big size. 10, 20, 50 lines paragraph is there. Avoid it. Just check about the language accuracy must be there. Then don't go with the history telling over there. Illustration must be avoided. Do not go for the unnecessary reasoning. Limit your abbreviations, or it is advisable whenever you use the abbreviation, I personally suggest you write the complete name. So at least the author must memorize it. Okay, this is the abbreviated word for it. And ultimately, your paper must have some contribution towards the society. So it should not be like a very classical, traditional art like movie where the things are keep going on. But then it's like the person they are moving in a bullock cart. So till while they are moving, there is a one song. चलते चलते गाना ही हो गया पूरा उसके अंदर चल बैलगाड़ी में चलते चलते. Such type of things should not be in your research work. Next slide, sir. These are the few of the sources. Next slide, sir. Okay. So this is all from my side. Thank you everyone for patientfully listening to me. Now this session is open. You can put your queries over here. I'm very sorry, due to some technical error, still my camera is not operating and unable to connect. I don't know what happened.
No issues, sir. It was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. Very enlightening, and I'm sure all those who wanted to know how to write a good paper must have understood and learned how to write a good paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you,
Dr.
sir.
Neha, you want to give vote of thanks, please?
Yes. I'm immensely thankful to Dr. Deepak, sir, for this wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, sir, for putting all the efforts and pains you took to prepare and include all the topics concerned to research, paper writing, as well as thesis writing. So, thank you, sir. Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
There is a question from Hina Begum, ma'am. She is requesting about the PPT. Actually, all of these things are available in the form of YouTube link, which has been provided. So you can access anytime, whenever, if required.
And again, for the participants from Malvanchal University, you can have the PPT on your mail IDs. If you'll request, you can have it. We'll share it with you.
Okay. Thank you once again to all of you. May I leave the room?
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.